All right, welcome back to another ELA intervention mini lesson. This one is going to be focused on reading informational point 5. So this is text structure. And I really set this up for having a range of grades be able to do this because it still falls into the standard, but it also could fluctuate. But we're really focusing on the test taking strategies with these types of questions. Okay, so I did my best to put them in a middle school setting, but I would even reach to 5th grade and up to 9th grade with this, the stem of the actual standard. So you'll see on here that it comes with this slide deck, a student handout with an answer key at the bottom. So watch that. A teacher implementation guide, which is literally a written version of what I'm about to do right now. And then I'm shooting the teacher tutorial video right now. So bell ringer is going to be the same for this whole skill series. So it's true or false, just kind of like an easy win. My vision for these mini lessons is when you have like an intervention or you're remediating to retake the state exam. We're always in need of like 30-minute little sessions. So this is exactly what that is. So I'm assuming you're going to have students that are struggling that need a little bit of review on the standard, but also need a review on test taking strategies. So that is the marriage of the two here, and we'll start them out with this bell ringer. Now, this slide 3 is showing the actual questions that could be asked on the test for this standard. I said in all my other videos that easy ways to just have them review this is you could literally have like duos alternate reading, talk about which ones you have seen before, you haven't seen before, which one sounds really difficult, stuff like that. Like just having conversation around this, whatever you think is best for your students. Another way I've done this is I've printed it out and then asked them as a bell ringer to like star the ones they've seen or something like that. Recalling the 4-step test taking process. That is our 4 steps we use for all of our lessons. If you're unfamiliar with them, you can follow me at Teach with Callie. I literally go over them all the time on social media, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, but also we have a full first day lesson that really like teaches the class them. But for today, we're kind of recalling, but they will see them as they go through this. So it's okay if it's their first time. We just don't want to bog them down with the 4 types, right? So the patterns is what I would put the most focus on. And at the end of the day, we're teaching them to look at the questions first. So that's the key. Look at the questions, you highlight keywords, you look at the patterns, then you figure out, can you answer it? And if you can't, then you read with a focus. That's the gist of it. So 5, you're going to make a connection to the title. Should schools limit student cell phone use during the school day? Have them make a 2-minute connection. So on their paper, they just write it down, maybe a text to self. I wish I could, maybe they'll say, I wish I could use my cell phone more in the day. I could see why they would say it's a distraction, blah, blah, blah. Maybe a text to text. I did see an article the other day that it said it was a distraction to some students under the age of 10. Text to world, I could see how that be distracted by social media, drama could impact learning, like something like that. So that's the goal with that. The key is like the purpose is that they're actually going to make a connection to what they're about to read and they're going to comprehend it better. So they're actually bringing in that prior knowledge. Slide 6 is just showing them the format. We're going to do an I do, we do, you do model. Set them up for I do. I do is you modeling. So if you go into slideshow mode here, it'll show you everything. Oh, I need to fix the N. I always see which ones I need to fix when I come here to record. And what they'll do is it'll populate, right? So highlight key details. We want to show them how we highlight the absolute bare minimum. Then we're going to look for patterns in the questions and they're going to populate on the top to what I'm looking at. So length, this one's longer. Is there any parallelism? No, that would be if they kind of start out the same or have the same kind of rhythm and size. Repetition, not really anything too influential. Then we have positive, negative, neutral. So I need to fix the N down here. So this is a negative, neutral, neutral, positive, neutral. Okay, so we see a pattern. Eliminate bottom 2 weakest answers. Have the class discuss which ones they think they are. Limiting phones means limiting apps. And this one says that apps are more effective. So that's like not going to work. And then another one would be B. Limiting phones means not replacing everything with tech. And it said it would completely replace traditional instruction with text. So leaves us down to 2, and then you'll have another pop-up. What's the strongest answer between these two? Hopefully they say C, because it talks about the limiting, which is what the question wants. Again, we're really trying to get down to the nitty-gritty. We haven't read anything. We're just using the question and the title so far. All right, so now they're going to do one with a partner. 4 minutes to do the question. That is highlighting, pattern seeking, and answering fully if they can. All right, so if I remember correctly, this one is a doozy. Okay, so length, this one's the shortest, so there's that. Parallel, not really. Repetition, not really. Positive, negative. So we see that it's going to improve, so that's positive. Neutral, negative, positive, neutral. Okay. So here's where things get a little bit tricky. Now, we've had so many questions where this positive, negative, neutral thing is so easy, right? But the kids need to see that it isn't always 100% trustworthy. It is just a strategy. And if it was 100%, trustworthy, then they would make the test not like this. So this is a perfect scenario of how it does not work and how we also need to pay attention to what we're doing. So if we match it, if we're looking for one that supports it, what is the claim claiming? The claim is claiming that limiting phones may improve academic performance. Okay, so that's the positive piece, but we have to limit them. We have to take them away. So that's the negative piece. We need to find the detail that supports limiting phone is going to improve the academics, right? The positive thing, which means we really need evidence to back up why they should be taking away the phones. So sure, the one we labeled positive, which is C, looks like it could support it. It says some educators believe students are more likely to communicate face-to-face. It's not very direct, but we could infer that means limiting the phone use. But there's actually a stronger answer. So we can't fall for the trap, right? So let's eliminate the bottom 2 weakest. All right. So we won't get rid of the positive one because we think it's that, but let's look at the other 3 and eliminate the other 2. A says some parents believe students should have access to phones in case of emergencies. And D says tech continues shaping communication and education. Oh, and then you had what I meant to say, and then you have B. Notifications, games, social media, and text messages may distract students during lessons. All right, so hopefully they say A and D are the bottom. They're not supporting improvement of academic performance. Now, B is proving that it would help academic performance. And then according to C, it is too. All right, but because of the way that they're worded, they got labeled as a positive and negative connotative meaning. All right, so now we look at these 2. Is it possible that the negative one could be better, and why? And this is where the knowledge of what a claim needs in order to succeed, right? So a claim needs evidence. And so B is stronger because negative is proof. It's evidence that supports the claim that they should limit phones to improve academic performance, which is what the question wants. So again, this is a perfect example on how we can't always depend on the positive, negative, neutral. It does help us see clearly, right? It helps us understand while reading, but we do need to check to make sure it's not the distractor. All right, so I'm curious to know how many of your students got that. So let me know in the comments below. And now they're going to do the independent piece, okay? So now they had that doozy. They should be rocking and rolling for these 2. Your answer keys will show up here. None of them are as intense as that one. There's some parallel here. We have repetition. Nope. Positive, negative, we don't know. And then it's all neutral, okay? So it doesn't really help us there again. So we're going to have to skim. Oh, I remember this one. So it says like, how does the author develop the argument in favor of phone restrictions? Okay, so the thing is, it doesn't give us a paragraph. So we're going to actually have to skim, which is what I teach my kids, for what? And we need to skim for this argument. It's in favor of phone restrictions, which should help because our last question was about that. So cognitively, it should not be too crazy. They did change limitations to restrictions. So that's the hard thing here, right? But that's what we're looking for. We're skimming for that. So we set them up for success to skim. So just by skimming the introductory sentence of each paragraph, you can find which ones you need. So I took a picture. Paragraph 2 and paragraph 3 both have those like limit phone. We need more phone restrictions, like that stuff. Okay. So now based on that, which two are the bottom, like weakest? So have them skim those 2 paragraphs and then let's pick which 2 are the bottom weakest. Hopefully they say A and C. A presents emotional opinions by students. That doesn't happen. And then the C was the author focuses mainly on the history of school tech. Both very weak answers. Then I asked, well, was B or D stronger? When they read this, it's a no-brainer that B is actually going to be the answer, because D is talking about how they avoid opposing viewpoints, and that doesn't actually develop the argument about needing more phone restrictions. So B is very clear as day, that gives plenty of examples, teacher observations, and research findings. All right, last question. Do the same thing. Repetition. We got this. This one was another like, okay, there's 3 positives and a neutral. All right, but we don't know what it is. So this is going to be easier to just read and eliminate based off what the question wants. Like, you literally do not need to read the text for this. It says, we need to look for a detail that supports which detail would weaken this argument, and then they give you the argument. So it's really easy. The argument that we're supposed to like find the failed support of is schools should strictly limit phone use during the day, right? So you literally just read them, and then I'm like, okay, let's eliminate worst to best. What's like the worst possible answer? They're gonna say these 2. B says that several studies suggest that students perform better with fewer distractions. Well, that's a strong argument, right? And so is the bottom one. Admin believe phone restrictions create a healthier learning environment. Those do support the argument, so therefore those are out. We need the weak one, right? So between A and C, which one's best? C is stronger. A is just talking about putting their phones in locked pouches. Again, that would support limiting the phone use. So C, when it says some believe they can be used for educational activities, that is actually going to weaken that argument. All right. So with all that, that is argument. So let us know if you use it and let us know how it goes.